Welcome everybody to this incredible healing container that Melissa and I have the pleasure of being a part of with you. So thank you for being here. You know, this doesn't happen without you. You are such a big aspect. Let me put it this way. You are the reason.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yep.
this is where our heart leads us to, is we know that you can recover from your autoimmune condition. That this autoimmune condition that you may have been diagnosed with is not you.
Exactly.
You are so much bigger than all of this. So, Melissa, thank you so much for being in this special room that we are all part of.
Thank you. And I love how you started this conversation around this diagnosis that you have, that you're carrying. Isn't you?
Mm-hmm.
You're bigger than this. I'm bigger than this.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the challenges when I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and very likely the same for you, was I knew what was, how do I say this? I knew what having multiple sclerosis looked like. And as things started going downhill faster and faster for me, and my body was really, really getting into trouble, I took it on as I have MS, and it became part of my identity. So when my body started to get better, that was actually one of the roadblocks that I had to walk over, was because I had taken that on as my identity, kind of a reason for why I am the way I am.
Yeah.
That I had to walk through. Do I want to retain that identity, or do I want to step outside of that and figure out who Melissa is? Who am I really?
Mm-hmm.
And that was a scary piece for me. And for each one of you guys that are listening that have an autoimmune condition, I love the question of, so your body has this going on, and this is the name that's been given it. Do you want to take that on as who you are or not?
I love how you paired this into your identity. Because I think we can, as you very well know, you can become that identity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can become all the symptoms. You can become all the moments. You can become all the reasons why this is why I may not be walking the way I want to walk, or I may be having a flare up, or I may be having something here that's keeping me away from, even after we came off this holiday this last weekend, why I didn't show up for Easter.
Mm-hmm.
So do you find, Melissa, for yourself, and I definitely, before I ask you this question, I want to let everybody know, if you have a question for Melissa and I in your healing journey, in your recovery journey, if you have a question for Melissa or myself, definitely ask it in chat. We're monitoring chat.
Yes.
We will answer. And as you know, in all of these beautiful Facebook Lives we do, we want to basically make this personal for you, because this is why we do it, is for you. So on that side, for that, Melissa, the question I had is, with your identity, did you find you held on tight to the diagnosis, or was there maybe some apprehension on recovery?
I love that question. So the answer is yes. Because part of the recovery journey for me was, yes, I was excited. Oh my gosh, my body's working better. I can walk again. I can feel things. I can pick up a glass without looking at it. You know, it's been like a month since I broke something. But as that was happening, there was this fear in the back of my head that was going, can you trust this process? Is this just good for a little while? Right? And so my safety net in my mind was, if things go backwards or things go sideways for me, I can say it's because I have MS. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
And in you know this already, but in our recovery journey, a lot of the time it will feel like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Sometimes it's 3 steps forward and 5 steps back. And we're like, oh, what's going on? Recheck, restart, let's go forward.
Mm-hmm.
And in those 2 steps back or 3 steps back or 5 steps back was when I would go into total fear and go like, well, here we are again. And I could use that as an excuse of I have MS. Does that make sense?
I think it makes perfect sense. And so what you're really talking about is those thoughts really are blocks. Yeah. So if we look at our recovery process, I kind of like to view it as like a river. So like a flowing river. And for anybody that follows me and that type of stuff has probably heard me talk about this before, is that I look at recovery as a flowing river. So this river is always flowing. Think about when you're young. You're able to eat what you want, do what you want, get away with what you want. There's nothing blocking you on your recovery process. Like, let's say you have a hard workout. You recover from that hard workout. Let's say you cut your hand cooking vegetables or chopping vegetables. Your hand recovers from that moment. We maybe have an injury, a sports injury or another injury in any one way. Maybe we get sick, maybe we get the flu, and we recover. So that river is flowing through us. Our energies are aligned. We are seeing ourselves as the full picture of our being, whether we are aware of it or not. Yes. Then something happens in our life, a stressful event. Maybe the toxins we had been consuming with the foods that we were eating got caught up to us. And let's say whatever it is. I mean, we look at oxidative stress in multiple ways that the body hits a state of inflammation. So if we're sitting there in this state of inflammation, the body eventually wants to get our attention. So it's like, all right, like, okay, you've blocked me enough that now you are going to be diagnosed with something that almost is like the wake-up call. It's like, all right, start paying attention to yourself. Maybe it's love of self. Maybe it's along the lines of what inflammatory foods that I'm eating. You know, we look at everything that we do at Sagebrush as the body is a full mind, body, spirit. We look at all these pieces. So we get off that line. I imagine that every time we do this, we get out of this alignment. It's like putting a rock in the river. And so some rocks are little, some rocks are boulders. But if we do this long enough, it actually could dam up the river. It could stop this flowing energy and stop this recovery from coming throughout our bodies. So, Melissa, do you see that this entire journey of recovery is removing these rocks one after another?
I love that analogy because an autoimmune condition rarely, I shouldn't say never, because sometimes somebody backs up a truck and dumps a load of gravel and our bodies are like, what just happened? But that's not normal. So normally an autoimmune condition builds through time to create a space in which we become diagnosed with something. Like our body is going sideways enough that we get diagnosed with something. And I totally love the analogy of the rocks because those things build. They just build. And when we're, sorry.
No. Keep going. Love your flow.
When we're working on how to help your body recover, being able to identify the rocks and then move them, whether they're in the emotional space, in the spiritual space, whether they're in the body space, to identify those and remove them is what helps us actually recover. So for me, when I'm looking at a new client, I really look at not just what they're experiencing now, but look at what they're leading, how did they get here, right? Those are very clear clues. And you probably do the same thing on the mindset side. Really looking at how, this new symptom showed up here. Okay, what happened in the 6 months, 9 months, year before?
Yep.
That could have created the creation, if you want to say it this way, of that rock in the stream. So we can get clues around what actually is that rock. And then once we can identify that, it's easy to go, okay, this is how we move it.
And I think, what we were talking about earlier with your identity, I look at identity as concrete. So then if we identify as having the dis-ease, this is me, this is why I have this is, and it becomes somewhat, security blanket is the wrong word. But it's kind of like if we can't go do something, or if we're protecting ourselves from another element, or even protecting ourselves from feeling that we are not enough. If we're allowing that to come in, we're just basically putting concrete on the rocks, which eventually becomes a dam. So as I've often talked about with my clients is, imagine your healing is now the lake behind your recovery.
I like that.
So then, through this work, through these little steps that we're taking, we're actually chipping away the dam or moving the rocks that allow it to come in. So it's much easier to move a rock. Now, even the biggest boulder can be removed with a crane. So you think of this as like blood work that we're going to do. We're going to identify you may be low on this. You may have this mindset that's coming in here. And that would be like moving a boulder. We're just going to move this out of the way. But the water is still flowing through. It's much easier to hit it early on in the process until a dam gets made. If we have a lake of healing and recovery behind us, then at that point, it's this act of chipping away at the dam. One little piece at a time. And I love how you said, sometimes recovery is 3 steps forward, 5 steps back, 4 steps forward, 2 back. Like we're oscillating back and forth, because as we're chipping away the dam, I think we're also in a protective mechanism, because if you actually blew the entire dam apart, that means a lot of stuff is going to come. You could flood an entire town. Like all of these things are going to come through. But how do we chip the dam away in a way that it's safe, where we feel safe?
I think that's just really, really good, though, because when we think about that and we think about taking rocks out one at a time, or just a few at a time, so we don't get a deluge, like I'm thinking of that in the body sense. I'm like, we don't want to create a deluge. Then we've got to fix the banks, and we've got to rebuild the road, and
you're doing a lot more than just recovering from an autoimmune disease. But like you said, like as we're chipping away at it, so could, the main reason where, let's say it was stress, let's say it was toxins, let's say there were bad habits that we had that were leading us to this autoimmune condition, as we continue to uncover this one step at a time, do you believe there's fear for going back to the way it was?
Oh, heavens, yes, 100%. But there can be fear going both ways. Fear of, oh my gosh, I've gotten so much better. What if I get worse again? I don't want to go back there. But there can also be fear around, it's been so long since I've been well. I don't know what it feels like. What would I do? How would I how would I function? I mean, we like to daydream about that, but then when it comes right up, we're up to the threshold and we're going, sometimes even fear of that can hold us back.
Yeah. Would we have to go back to work? Would we have to go do the job that we hated? Would we have to go experience the life? Now, I'm going to let you know that you are a powerful, powerful individual. You can do anything you wish. But our limiting mind gets in the way, which is just a rock. That we're like, no, I want to hold on to this rock here. This rock makes me feel safe. This keeps the water from flowing too fast. And so that feeling of overwhelm.
Yeah. I think one of the things we forget as we heal, and this is something I learned, is that we get to say what that looks like. Okay, so you get well enough that you can go back to work. You get to decide whether you go back to the job you hated. And maybe part of what is a little bit fearful to you is, will people expect more out of me, and then it will be too much and I won't be able to, rise to what they want or expect from me. And we get to set boundaries. That's part of the healing journey. And this is something that Matt is masterful at, is helping, what do I want and what do I need in my world to create a safe place for me to recover in. And that's just not at the beginning. That's clear through until you're 120, however long you get to live. Right. Is we get to create what that looks like as we recover. And it's part of taking back your power.
Yeah.
It's taking back who you are and how you show up in the world.
Yeah. I tell you, the reason why I can speak on this and I talk about it and I teach it is because I've been there. I'm still, to some degree, I'm still there. Because I'll uncover a new rock that might be there, or I'll uncover something else that I'm like, oh, there's another block to my healing. Now I feel that this journey may be one that I will be on for the rest of my life. Yeah. Now, it doesn't mean it's bad. It doesn't mean that my symptoms come back. It doesn't mean all that stuff happens. But is this the journey of life? Is discover those pieces. And this is why I love what we do, because as coaches, we can look at it. I get to see something different that you don't, because I'm not behind your eyes. I get to see it from an outside perspective. I get to see what may be hidden. What might be that silence that is screaming so loudly within you. So then in this moment, I mean, I know like recently, as you guys all know, I've mentioned it here before, I am going to ask the woman of my dreams to marry me in July. But what did I notice the first week I kind of came to that, okay, I'm going to do this. I had a symptom that showed up. And I'm like, oh, where did this come from? And it was you, Melissa, who asked me a very powerful question. Are you concerned with getting married again? Coming back, not saying that my previous marriage was terrible, not that I was abused or anything like that, but there was definitely a feeling of not enough. And so you had said at some point that when we go to recover, what is now going to be expected of me? Am I going to be able to be the man that I want to be for the love of my life? And there's fear. And so really, essentially, it's a rock. And I very quickly put that big boulder back in the middle of the river. And I'm like, and if I would have ignored it, if I wouldn't have looked at it for what it was, I would have allowed that rock to be there. Blocking the flow to my healing. But with just observing it and looking at it and seeing it, having somebody incredible like yourself that was there that could say, asking me that powerful question and giving me the space to be with it, allowed me to take the rock and move it from the river again. So I want to definitely make mention, anybody watching Melissa and I right now, if you have a question about recovering from your autoimmune condition, definitely pop it in chat, ask us. Sarah, I'm so glad that you are here. And you said a very important statement. My legs feel as if they are weighed down with concrete. Isn't this how the body, it gives us that feeling that we may feel that our healing is weighed down, or we're blocking our healing, or we're getting in the way of our healing. And then the body shows us as a physical representation of how we may be feeling in a specific way.
Yeah.
So as you work with individuals from a functional medicine perspective, how would you address Sarah's comment if she had said that to you during a discovery call?
Oh, I love this question. So one of the very, 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 very first things that we do is go through an in-depth intake symptoms questionnaire. So really getting down into the broad spectrum picture of what your body is giving you as signals.
Okay.
Those are symptoms, right? And then any blood work that we need to see if there is something, I mean, so simple, like say, for example, when I hear of somebody that has, so their legs are so heavy or they have such intense fatigue, one of the very first things I go to is what's their iron look like? Because especially us gals, sometimes when we have autoimmune conditions, we also have really whacked up periods and our bodies just can't keep up. And there are other factors involved that I won't get all deep in, but our bodies can have a real depletion of iron. I just brought in a gal that her iron was 10. I'm like, my gosh, girl, how can you even like get out of bed? Because if you don't have enough iron to help build red blood cells, your muscles are going to feel like they're lead.
Yeah.
You just, an arm feels like it weighs 1,000 pounds. And so really looking at the symptoms, looking at the blood work. And if we need to do further investigation with other tests, heck yeah, we'll do it. But a lot of times we can get the initial information that we need to start helping you like now in that first little, looking at your symptoms questionnaire, but also looking at any blood work that you have.
Now, Melissa, you said her iron was at a 10. What's a normal iron ratio that you want to see?
Depends whether we're talking fellas or gals.
Okay.
So I'm going to switch a little bit to ferritin. So ferritin is our stored iron. It's one of the few things that our body stores. For a menstruating female, I'd like to have it somewhere between 80 to 100. For a non-menstruating gal and for a gentleman, 30 to 50 is okay. Something like that can really make a difference for how your body feels.
And she was at a 10.
She was at a 10. I'm like, honey child, you impressed me beyond I don't know what, because at a 10, I don't know how you can wiggle.
I think that's and we laugh about this, but this is nothing to joke or laugh about. But what gets us excited is if we can see something like that and go,
simple.
Oh, boom. Like if I'm working with somebody when it comes to mindset, they may say a phrase that they're really used to. I remember I was working with somebody and she says, I am the healthiest, sickest person around.
There you go.
And right in there, I stopped her and I said, okay, let's work on that phrase.
Yeah.
Do you believe that? Do you believe you're the sickest person around? Because then that'll start to manifest within our bodies and we'll be able to create it. So think of it again, and back in the analogy that we're giving with the river, that's just a rock. By you being aware of it, it allows that rock to be easily moved out of the way, but it becomes with a decision between us and ourselves. You're like, okay, yeah, I am not that. It's also an aspect of forgiving ourselves for having the thought.
Mhm.
I have some clients that at the beginning say, I feel so bad. I'm such an idiot. I have these thoughts.
Mm.
And then we work through it just points right to how to remove that rock, which is forgiveness.
Mhm.
Forgiving ourselves that, like we said at the very beginning, this autoimmune condition is not you.
Exactly.
This is just a diagnosis. And we can take a look at everything, but this is where we get very passionate about finding the root of it. I don't, if you had told me, Melissa, when we first met, you're like, oh, I just deal with this symptom. I don't know if we'd be doing work together. I don't know if this is something, because treating the symptom just masks it. It's like taking an Advil for a headache, but we don't find out that we're dehydrated or we have a mass amount of stress within our life. And so really, or another biological function that's out of balance. If we're just masking the headache, then we're going to continue moving on till it becomes something bigger within us.
Yeah. Yep.
So as we take these steps to recover, as we work at these areas and at these levels, what is another area where you find that individuals can begin making I want to say simple, but you're recovering from an autoimmune condition. There's nothing simple about it. What's something powerful someone can do as they're recovering?
So I love that you kind of were fighting a bit with the word simple, because sometimes, at least when we're doing the initial looking for the rocks and really figuring out what those rocks are, when we start to kind of peel back, and I like to use the onion a little bit, starting to peel back the layers, because we always have to work with layers with the body when we're really working on the physiological part of things. We can't just dive in and move the whole dam at once, or we create more trouble than we solve. But when we're working through layers, literally we get to go, all right, these are the base layers. We need to work here first. So when we're thinking about basic things, powerful things that you can start now, one of the most, powerful things you can lean into is starting to become aware of how your body feels in certain situations. And when I say situations, it's not how does your body necessarily feel if you have a fight with your kiddo or a fight with your significant other. Yes, we need to be aware of that. What's my body doing there? Because we get to get a sense of what stress and that conflict is causing in the body. But also, how does your body feel with certain foods that you're bringing in? How does your body feel when you drink more or less water? How does your body feel when you're able to actually have a healthy bowel movement? How does your body feel when you are, most people that come have either a small box or a ginormous box of supplements or medications. How do you feel when you take those? Does your body feel weighted down? Does it feel like it's being lifted up? When you have a meal, what does your body feel like after that? Do you need a half an hour nap? Or you just literally can't get out of your chair for a little bit because your body's like, and really leaning into how your body is feeling and noticing can be one of the very first, most powerful steps. And for some folks, they've done that forever and they've gotten so many mixed signals that they're like, yeah, well, I don't know. So that's when we need to lean into more concrete, testing type stuff. And when we need to lean into, a second pair of eyes and really, pick this apart for the person. But if I could give you one single thing, that would be one thing to start with. Like, that's powerful.
No, the first way out, to get out of anything is just to be aware of it. Be aware that you're lost. Be aware that this might be happening here. Because if I blindly trying to fix something, but I have no idea where to begin, it's like fixing your car and you have no idea if I need to change a tire or if I need to work on the oil or if I need to completely do major body work or transmission, whatever it is.
Yep.
As a car analogy, I'm sorry about this, everybody. If you don't, but if I have no idea where the problem is, I could disassemble the whole car. So really what you're talking about is by being aware, or looking at the actual part.
Yeah.
When I do this, I feel this.
Yeah.
When I do this, I feel this. And it points us, anybody else you work with, to a direction. Okay, let's work on this piece. Instead of blindly disassembling the whole body.
Yeah.
So to speak.
Yeah. One of the things that I have also found that is very powerful is when we are in, like, say, for example, I'm doing an intake session with a client. We have so much inner wisdom, guys. Please don't discount your, just, you know, if someone asks you this question, and I ask my clients, you know, almost all of them when we come into this session, and we're doing the intake, we've laid out everything that we can see. We've got the blood work. We've got, you know, we figured out what systems aren't working right, where some of the imbalances are, where some of the large rocks are, like we need to work on these first. I really ask 2 questions. One, is there anything else that you want to chat about? And sometimes the most beautiful nuggets of wisdom come out after that question.
Yeah.
And the second question is, what do you feel like you want to work on first? Does that make sense? Because in this process, whether you're working with me, whether you're working with Matt, and we've combined our work together because it's so powerful. I can do so much on my own. Matt can do so much on his own. But as we combine this service for you guys, it just amplifies both of our work.
Yes.
So that it creates a more powerful recovery journey for you. And I love that. But your wisdom in answering those questions, what do you want to work on first? Or what else do you want to chat about? Those are huge, because guess what? You get to lead your recovery journey. Yeah. It gets to be what you want it to be.
What I like about that, Melissa, is it's ongoing. Was that at some point as we do this work, we're teaching you how to heal yourself. We're teaching you how to recover yourself that you inherently know how to do, but we're giving you the tools on how to recover. Now, if you want testing and all that kind of stuff, it's something that we do very, very well. And so if that aspect, but it may not need something that big. After we've worked through this, after we've removed all those rocks and those blocks to that healing, it may be something like in the story I told you about the symptom that flared up for me. I'm like, oh, that's it.
Yep.
So it was me sitting with me for a couple of days. And I remember I went to a meditation and just sat with myself. And it's what my body needed was for me to listen to it. Yeah. So Melissa, while we finish up this beautiful healing container that we've created and built, is there anything else that you feel we should address for everybody here?
One of the things that I would love for you to hear from us today is how much power you have in this process. One of the things that with an autoimmune condition, because like when you're in the diagnosis process or you feel like you know something's off in the body, but you've been to, you know, you don't have a name for it. And maybe you've been to countless doctors and specialists and been poked and prodded, but you still don't have a name. In that space, often it's easy because we don't know what to do. Right? I remember this so starkly for myself is, you know, I'm not one to give up. I'm a stubborn German gal. I know how to stick in there. But when my body was just, I didn't know what was going on. And when I was desperately trying to get a name or a diagnosis for what was happening, I was in such a place of confusion and fear and, oh my gosh, I don't know what's happening. And, you know, if this continues to happen, I'm not going to get to see my kids grow up. A place of deep grief around that. when we're in that space, I want you to hear this, please. Your body can be well. And please don't give away your power of saying yes or no. Because in that moment, in that moment of intense fear, I started to give away my power of yes or no, saying yes or no. No, I don't want that medication because I feel like I don't want it. I feel like it's not good for me. But then being like, I don't know what else to do. So, okay. Or, being given a suggestion as the next test, right? You need to do this, you need to do that. And I finally stopped at the lumbar puncture. I was like, oh my gosh, I already can't walk very good. What if you guys mess up and then I'm truly paralyzed? I can't even think about that. And I finally said no. But please retain your power. Sometimes it's hard when you don't know what's happening. But retain that for yourself. If you can hear anything, that one, and know that your body can be better. When we identify the rocks in the stream, see what's going sideways for you, we can help you turn that around. Please don't just sit there and just die inside.
Yeah. Yes, Melissa, I love how you said that, and I could not have said it better. It's just, we are all powerful. We all have this amazing ability to recover. So it's just, like you said, removing the rock. There could be one phrase we say that removes this stone, or maybe one step in your recovery process that we can help you identify. So as we finish up this beautiful healing container, I want to remind everybody tonight at 4:30 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. That would be 3:30 p.m. if you're on the Pacific Coast in California. And if you are in New York, it's going to be 6:30 p.m. We are going live. It's going to be day one of the challenge today. And this is going to be a 5-day event. Every evening, Monday through Thursday, we'll be going live. And when we go live, Monday through Thursday, it'll be 30 minutes. Melissa's going to teach a day. I'm going to teach a day. Then Melissa, then me. And then Melissa and I are coming together to hold a powerful masterclass. But to get the invite for that masterclass, you have to join the challenge. So if you haven't registered for the challenge, definitely register for the challenge. Even if you cannot make it, we are recording it and we'll send you the recording of that day. Also, with that recording will be a link to sign up, or actually a registration page to sign up for the masterclass on Friday. Once again, even if you can't make it, sign up for that, and then we can send you that masterclass. Also, we're giving a gift away. We're giving a $500 gift away at the masterclass. Everybody can get access to this. It's really easy to get it. So you'll learn about how to get that $500 gift for doing that. So definitely, I hope to see you all this evening at 4:30 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time.
I'm so excited for this, you guys.
It's going to be good. Okay. Thank you, Melissa, so much.
Thank you.
Sarah and Shelly, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. And for everybody else that's on, thank you for being a part of this with us.
Exactly. And thank you, Matt. Thanks for sharing your wisdom.
Oh, you too. Thank you, Melissa. We'll see you tonight. All right.
Bye.
Bye.